What is up? What is up, everybody? I hope y'all can hear me.
Hello,
Birdie,
everybody.
Joko, Snarky, Inqualified Immunity, anything under the sun. No, we are not doing another 4.5 hours. I've got to be up at bright and early in the morning. We're going to do an hour-ish or so. This video, we're just going to let play. What you see on the screen, we're going to let play pretty exclusively here. And just so you can hear a detective talk and just kind of listen to what's being said closely, guys. Chopper, what's up? I'll be DCR. Without further ado, guys, I'm not going to wait too much longer here. Let's just get into it. Here we go.
She's a respondent witness.
Well, let me say that the city used 268 minutes of its 560 and the defense 114. We might as well use our time to advantage. If you've got a witness to put on, once the city rests, we can do that.
Yes, sir.
So we are prepared to rest right now.
The respondent would call Lieutenant Raffle.
Lieutenant Raffle. I remind you, you remain under oath from yesterday.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Lieutenant.
Morning.
In all the accusations and complaints filed against Joy Phillips, have you ever interviewed her?
Yes, I've interviewed her a few times.
Have you interviewed her when she was named as a focus officer or accused member?
No.
And in fact, you did not interview her with regard to the various accusations filed against her by the city in March 2023. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Nor did you interview her regarding the accusations against Detective Phillips in July 2023 regarding the new allegation, did you?
What are we talking about for July 2023?
The amended charge.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
You did not interview her regarding that?
Can you go ahead and just clarify which charge you're talking about?
Sure. Yeah. Sir, the amended charge concerns the deleted videos.
So concerning that, I actually did interview her. It just happened to take place in the original investigation. But after that letter was amended, I did not interview Detective Phillips.
And at the time you did speak to her, she was not the focus officer at that point.
That is correct.
So really, no one from the police department has interviewed Joy Phillips regarding any of the accusations that have been leveled against her.
The current ones, not to my knowledge, nobody has interviewed her.
Isn't it departmental policy and something called for in the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police that an officer who is the subject of a accusation shall be interviewed and allowed to present her side of the story?
No, I do not believe that to be true.
Well, is there a requirement to interview suspects in criminal cases?
This is not a criminal case, so they really necessarily don't mirror each other. And actually, I don't believe that there is an exact requirement that you have to interview somebody in a criminal case either.
But you will do so if there is an opportunity.
I guess that would be dependent on the case and the direction the investigation is heading.
You interviewed everyone involved in the allegations arising out of the suspected burglary of the Bees 3 building, except Joy. Isn't that the case?
No, that is not. That is incorrect.
You interviewed all the,
So I just want to stop it real quick. We're not gonna stop it a bunch here. I see everybody coming in. I appreciate you. If I don't acknowledge you, don't worry. I do see you guys coming in, but I want you guys to pay attention to this guy right here and what's going on here.
interviewed Detective Payne.
Uh-oh, what happened here?
In an official setting, I think if you were just caught lying to your neighbor, I don't think that's
Did we
going
go
to
too far ahead here?
make you a Brady cop.
Does the Elkhart
Yeah, it started at like 38 minutes.
Brady cop as
All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm working with limited space.
and
Like 40
in
minute
fact,
marker.
you did not interview her with regard to the various accusations. And in fact, you did not interview her with regard to the
There we go.
various accusations filed against her by the city in March 2023. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Just so you know, this is Lieutenant Raffle
You
from the
interviewed
Elkhart
her
Police Department.
regarding the accusations against Detective Phillips in July 2023 regarding the new allegation. Did you?
What are we talking about for July 2023?
The amended charge.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
You did not interview her regarding that.
Can you go ahead and just clarify which charge you're talking about?
Sure.
What's going on, everybody?
Sir, the amended charge concerns the deleted videos.
So concerning that, I actually did interview her. It just happened to take place in the original investigation. But after that letter was amended, I did not interview Detective Phillips.
And at the time you did speak to her, she was not the focus officer at that point.
That is correct.
So really, no one from the police department has interviewed Joy Phillips regarding really any of the accusations that have been leveled against her.
The current ones, not to my knowledge, nobody has interviewed her.
Isn't it departmental policy and something called for in the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police that an officer who is the subject of a accusation shall be interviewed and allowed to present her side of the story?
No, I do not believe that to be true.
What the fuck?
Well, is there a requirement to interview suspects in criminal cases?
Uh, This is not a criminal case, so they really necessarily don't mirror each other. And actually, I don't believe that there is an exact requirement that you have to interview somebody in a criminal case either.
But you will do so if there is an opportunity.
I guess that would be dependent on the case and
Bullshit. They
the,
do every
direction
chance they
the
get.
investigation is heading.
You interviewed everyone involved in the allegations arising out of the suspected burglary of the Bees 3 building, except Joy. Isn't that the case?
No, that is not. That is incorrect.
You interviewed you interviewed Detective Payne, you interviewed Detective Clays, you interviewed Detective Barron, you interviewed Officer Young, you interviewed the daughter of the owner of the property. You would have interviewed the drivers of the car if they hadn't been in the hospital. And you interviewed just about everyone except Joy Phillips, didn't you?
No, that's incorrect. You listed several people there that I did not interview.
Who didn't you interview?
I believe you said Sergeant Young. I think you mentioned the reporting party, the daughter of the victim. I know those were two that I did not interview during this investigation. You may have mentioned others.
You personally didn't interview the reporting party, the owner's daughter, but she was interviewed by another detective, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Right there, two Fry, right there. There's his name. Lieutenant James Raffle.
Isn't it stated in Article 26 of the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police that an accused member is to be interviewed when there is an allegation of misconduct?
I don't believe that's true. If you have something that says that exactly, I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Yes, sir. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 28, which is a portion of the, well, actually, I'll ask you to identify the document, sir.
Okay.
At the respondents, Exhibit 28.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. Sir, could you identify this document?
Based on what I have here, this appears to be a portion of the CBA, specifically pages 23, 24, 25, and 26. It's got various portions of it that are highlighted.
And Lieutenant, just for the record, could you explain what CBA means?
The collective bargaining agreement between the FOP and the city of Elkhart.
And sir, I'm going to point to an area that I'd like you to read.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sir, could you please display Exhibit 28? The front page.
23. It'll be page 23, section 5.
Oh, yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, page 23. It'll be under Article 26. So you gotta go down.
Yeah, 23 is after 20.
Keep
Dumbasses.
going down. And it should be right at the bottom there. Section 5 reads, whenever a police officer is under investigation or subjected to interrogation by members of his or her department for any reason which could lead to disciplinary action, demotion, dismissal, or criminal charges, such investigation or interrogation shall be conducted according to the following procedures as outlined, and then it lists a website there.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Did that happen in the case of Joy Phillips?
Yes, this portion was followed, the section 5.
She wasn't interviewed, though, was she?
That's correct. And it doesn't, based on how that reads to me, there's nothing there that says that Detective Phillips shall be interviewed or is granted any right to be interviewed.
So she was never given the opportunity to tell her story.
He was never interviewed. That is correct.
I'll take that back. Please, sir, I'd like you to continue reading the highlighted portions,
All the ones in green or just the yellow one?
the green ones, or all of them.
All right, so we're back to Exhibit 28 here. I'm going to continue reading on page 24, all of the bullet points. So the first one starts, law enforcement officers shall, if disciplinary action is expected, be notified of the investigation, the nature of the alleged violation, and be notified of the outcome of the investigation and the recommendations made to superiors by the investigators. Next bullet point, questioning of a law enforcement officer should be conducted for a reasonable length of time and preferably while the officer is on duty unless exigent circumstances apply. The next one, questioning of a law enforcement officer should take place at the offices of those conducting the investigation or at the place where the officer reports to work unless the officer consents to another location. Next bullet. Law enforcement officers will be questioned by no more than 2 investigators, and he or she shall be informed of the name, rank, and command of the officers conducting the investigation. Next bullet point, law enforcement officers under investigation are entitled to have counsel or any other individual of their choice present at the interrogation. Next bullet point, law enforcement officers cannot be threatened, harassed, or promised rewards to induce the answering of any questions. Next bullet point, law enforcement officers are entitled to a hearing with notification in advance of the date, access to transcripts and other relevant documents and evidence generated by the hearing, and to representation by counsel or another non-attorney representative at the hearing. Next bullet point states, law enforcement officers shall have the opportunity to comment in writing on any adverse materials placed in his or her personnel file. And the last one states, law enforcement officers cannot be subject to retaliation for the exercise of these or any other rights under federal, state, or local law.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Sir, isn't it pretty clear that the collective bargaining agreement contemplates that an accused officer will be interviewed as the focus officer?
No. I think that lays out just some guidelines if one was to be conducted.
So it's your testimony that any member of the Elkhart Police Department can be accused of grievous misconduct and does not have the right to defend himself in an interview and tell his side of the story?
No, that's not correct.
You just said an interview wasn't required, didn't you?
It's not required, but as the process plays out, there's several other areas where an officer is afforded ample opportunity and the ability to defend themselves or to, pass along information that they think is pertinent to that investigation.
Do you not agree that according to Lexipol, there are well over 20 different policies that reference the interview process?
I don't know the exact number.
Is that a yes or a no?
That is me stating, I don't know if there's 20. I'm sure that it's mentioned in there several times. I just don't know the total amount.
Sir, have you, do you have any knowledge where, involving a situation in which Sergeant Young's honesty has been questioned?
I believe it was brought up during the grievance hearing in front of the Board of Public Safety, the two-day one that we talked about yesterday on October 11th and October 25th.
In all of the accusations fielded and accepted by your office, why was there never an accusation of Detective Phillips lying about Dustin Young being a Brady cop, as she stated during the Board of Public Safety hearing?
Could you repeat that question?
Yes, sir. Joy Phillips has never been accused of being a Brady cop for the reason of lying about Detective Young. I mean, that's never been brought up against her, has it?
No, I believe when you read that letter from Prosecutor Becker, it didn't state anything about her testimony about Dustin Young.
Okay. But she's never been accused of being a Brady cop as regards Dustin Young, has she? Although it's been alleged that she's lied about him, but there's never been a specific charge that she lied about Detective Young being a Brady cop.
I don't believe that was specifically mentioned on that charging letter.
Why not?
You'll have to ask the person that wrote that charging letter.
Do you believe that an officer's propensity for dishonesty to be relevant when he testifies?
Yes, I believe we discussed that quite a bit yesterday.
Did your office? But your office didn't take that into consideration when that he had a history of dishonesty when he inappropriately filed his complaint through an email to Captain Whitmire?
He didn't file a complaint.
He sent an email, though.
Okay.
With the substance of a complaint. Is that not true?
I believe he did.
Okay. Do you believe that an officer's ability to provide honest and integrity-based testimony to be pivotal in any kind of court proceeding?
Yes.
Okay. Should officers with a propensity for dishonesty be allowed to testify?
I believe if when we read that letter yesterday, it had mentioned that, if a officer that was Brady officer, they would, their testimony would need to be corroborated by other means, and their testimony alone probably would not suffice.
Now, sir, you're in charge of professional standards at the Elkhart Police Department. Isn't that correct?
I just typed in the chat that I'm not going to pause a lot, but when I'm highlighting certain comments like what Famously just put in here, this LinkedIn, you guys can find a lot of information out on these LinkedIn channels, these LinkedIn pages. It gives their professional history and a lot of their learning from the academies or universities that they went to, and you can tie a lot together by just looking at the schools they went to. So when I highlight these, you guys can check them out or save them for later or whatever, but those are important to what's going on here. So that's why I'm doing it. And again, thank you everybody for coming in. I'm sorry if I don't call you out or whatever. I do notice you guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I'm doing this because I feel it's very important. So let's get back to it.
Documentation.
Did I do that again? Fuck, where was we at? God damn it.
We were watching the video.
I know.
I'm just messing with you.
Well,
Question.
if the department had them, wouldn't you be the person?
Is that about where we were at?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. This, you'll see. I mean, as long as you don't get past, I mean, we're waiting for the
Did interview
prosecutor.
her.
So.
It just happened to take place in the original investigation. But after that letter was amended, I did not interview Detective Phillips.
And at the time you did speak to her, she was not the focus officer at that point.
That is correct.
So really, no one from the police department has interviewed Joy Phillips regarding really any of the accusations that have been leveled against her.
The current ones, not to my knowledge, nobody has interviewed her.
Okay, so we were past
Isn't
this.
it departmental policy and something called for?
Hold on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hold on, guys.
So she was never given the opportunity to tell her story.
He was never interviewed. That is correct.
And does not have the right to defend himself.
Yeah, you were past this. You can go forward. It won't matter much as long as you don't go past him all the way.
He didn't.
Like,
Department
just-
keep
Here we go.
documentation of officers who are found
just
to
leave
have
it here.
misrepresented facts in court.
I'm in a cramped space here, guys,
Do
so
they
bear
keep
with me.
documentation?
Yes, sir. If that is known, is that recorded anywhere in professional standards or elsewhere in the chief's office or elsewhere?
Well, I would say, I think if somebody were to receive a letter such as what we presented yesterday, stating that, then yes, we would keep that letter.
Okay. Perhaps just for the record, it would help if you defined what a Brady cop is.
So essentially, and this was discussed in the grievance hearing as well, but
I'm going to object. I just think this calls for a legal conclusion at this point, and this is not a lawyer.
Listen close.
the not to get too in depth, essentially, if an officer provides sworn testimony, whether that's under oath or affirmation, and they know it to be untruthful, essentially that's where you get into the realm of Brady.
Sir, if you know, does the sworn testimony have to be in a criminal proceeding or can it be anywhere?
To my knowledge, I've always thought it had to be in an official setting. I think if you were just caught lying to your neighbor, I don't think that's going to make you a Brady cop.
Does the Elkhart Police Department use the term Brady cop as essentially as a shorthand for officers with a propensity for dishonesty?
Not necessarily.
What is that expression used for then?
If you are deemed a Brady officer, again, such as something along the lines of the letter that I had read in yesterday, then that term might be used. But you could use other words. I guess you could use that they're untruthful, dishonest, deceitful, a liar. There's many words that you could use to talk about something of that.
Perhaps I should have asked, what is the expression used customarily at Elkhart Police Department?
So Brady would essentially, as we had just talked, if you were found to have provided untruthful testimony while you were sworn in under oath or affirmation, and that was discovered, then that's where you would probably use that terminology.
Is Dustin Young a Brady cop?
Not to my knowledge.
Does he have a reputation for dishonesty?
Not to my knowledge.
Is Carl Conway a Brady cop?
I believe so.
Has, to your knowledge, has the prosecutor ever written a letter to the police department stating that she considers Carl Conway to be a Brady cop?
I have never received a letter from the prosecutor.
Um, Do you know if Carl Conway is described as a Brady cop in his termination letter?
I do not know.
All right. Has Detective Phillips ever advised you of harassment, retaliation, or discrimination, or a hostile work environment at the Elkhart Police Department?
Yes.
Were these complaints investigated?
Yes.
Okay. Did you investigate them?
One for sure, maybe more. I can't speak for other investigators that were working back in the Office of Professional Standards.
Okay. Do you know if the city, were there records kept of this investigation?
Yes.
Do you know if the city produced these records in discovery?
I do not.
Were you asked to produce these records?
I don't recall.
Do you know of any police officers at Elkhart who recorded other officers while on duty?
Are we talking about like on a recording device other than the body cameras and?
Yes, sir, other than the official body cam.
Nothing is jumping out at me. I'm not going to say that it's didn't happen or not possible, but nothing's jumping out where I could say yes.
So it is possible.
Sure, it's possible.
Do you know of any other officers or detectives who have personally owned cameras or recording devices in their offices?
Not to my knowledge.
Is it possible?
Yes, it could be possible.
Has any other officer been questioned or reprimanded for having a personally owned camera or recording device in his office?
Not to my knowledge.
A personally owned camera or recording device is not the same thing as a personal communication device, is it?
That's kind of a broad question. I guess that would be a very subjective thing left open to your interpretation of various definitions of wording there.
Right. Wasn't it in in the city's testimony yesterday that they're not the same thing?
That could have been.
By personal communication device, the policy means a cell phone, doesn't it?
It certainly may.
I'd like to take you to the date of November 1st, 2022. Did you accompany was that the date that Joy Phillips was told she was placed on administrative leave?
Yes, it was.
And you accompanied her to her office after she received that news, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Other officers accompanied her to her office, didn't they?
Yes, I believe that to be correct.
And I believe one of them was Captain Whitmire.
That sounds correct.
Right. At some point, did Captain Whitmire call to you, didn't he?
No.
I'm going to object right now. I'm sorry. These questions are surrounding an ongoing criminal case in which several officers, including Lieutenant Raffle, are a suspect. And so I think it just doesn't make sense. We need to just assert the Fifth Amendment here because we shouldn't be having someone testify about something that right now they are looking for a special prosecutor on this case because it was not charged. And I just don't think it's fair to put Lieutenant Raffle in this situation. So I'm going to ask to assert the Fifth Amendment in regards to these questions on his behalf.
He wishes to claim the Fifth Amendment, he can do that.
Well, obviously, after hearing that, then that's what I'll do. I will take the Fifth Amendment.
Well, then, Your Honor, I will. Of course, I accept that the lieutenant has the right to claim the Fifth Amendment. I would simply ask that the commission that decline to consider any alleged misconduct regarding the November 1st incident as Officer Phillips has been deprived of the opportunity to cross-examine her accusers regarding that incident.
Not sure I understand your point.
To the extent that Joy Phillips is accused of any wrongdoing in the November 1st incident, I believe that the commission should disregard those accusations and not take any action against her regarding the November 1st incident because she has in effect been denied the opportunity to cross-examine her accusers regarding that specific incident.
I think that's premature at this point. You can raise it later.
Yes, Your Honor.
Especially at closing.
Yes, sir. Detective, didn't in Sergeant Roundtree's audio that was displayed yesterday, didn't he acknowledge that the reason that Joy Phillips did not want to write the search warrant was that there was not probable cause?
That link that is highlighted right there, this is this lieutenant's salary right here that's up on the stand. So
Cause for the search of the gold Cadillac?
I'd have to rewatch that section.
Did Detective Phillips provide you with audio of the former chief telling her that there was no discipline in her file? Excuse me, the current chief and the former assistant chief. I'm referring to Officer Whitmire.
Could you restate that question?
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to. Did Joy Phillips not provide you with audio of a conversation with her and now Assistant Chief Whitmire, assuring her that there was no discipline in her file?
I don't know that there was a specific audio that where they had a conversation and Assistant Chief Whitmire assured her there was no discipline in her file. I think what you may be referring to is there was a recording where they had sat down when Assistant Chief Whitmire was in charge of the Office of Professional Standards, and they went through the record management system, and he was sitting down with her to try to discuss any cases where she may have been mentioned as a focus officer.
Didn't, and nothing was sustained, correct? No discipline.
For what?
For the, in the RMS entries, there was no sustained, no record of sustained discipline against her.
Probably at that time, I believe that would be the case. I think we testified yesterday to the fact, first time there was recommendation or sustained policy violations was the, from the Captain's Review Board on August 11th, 2022.
Okay. That audio was from 2021, wasn't it?
I don't know when it was from.
Okay. You know when Chief Whitmire was in Internal Affairs?
I don't know the exact time.
Wasn't it right before you got there?
That was a portion of it, yes.
And what year was that?
I got back there in 2021. So I believe, and you'd have to ask Chief Whitmire to get clarification, but I think there was changeover maybe that year between him and his predecessor there.
Didn't Chief Whitmire testify at the Board of Public Safety hearing that there was no discipline in Joy's file?
I don't recall.
Is an employee action plan the same thing as an RMS entry?
I guess I'm not clear on your question.
Is it discipline?
Is what discipline?
An employee action plan.
Can you show me what you're talking about when you're referring to the employee action plan?
Officer, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Chief's Exhibit 20 from the Board of Safety hearing. But it,
It's Chief's.
from this hearing or the? Oh, okay. I apologize, sir. That is Chief's Exhibit 20 from this this hearing, and if and yes, if IT could put that on the board, I'd appreciate it. Be Chief's Exhibit. Sir, have you had a chance to look at Chief's Exhibit 20?
Yes.
Okay. What is Chief's Exhibit 20?
So this is a RMS entry into the employee module. This was going to be a counseling from Lieutenant John Hamill. It's time-stamped May 13th, 2019.
You don't need to read the whole thing, sir.
Okay.
Does this have to be signed?
No.
So RMS entries need to be signed, don't they?
Well, so there's just absolutely no way when you type into this portion of that module, there's no way to sign a signature on the computer. So this is just going to be text only. And then typically whoever enters it, most of the time will just timestamp it.
Don't RMS entries have to be signed to be effective?
You can't sign them. It's not an option in RMS. There's no way to pick up a pen and sign a screen and get that to go into the text or narrative box.
You would think just simply printing it out and putting it in a personnel file would suffice with an actual signature. I mean, just a thought here.
Hey, Midwest,
Yeah.
after this detective, you can probably like move forward a little bit. I don't know. You'll see. And then it'll be the prosecutor being questioned by the attorney.
Yeah, we still
That's
got
probably the most important part to watch because it goes along with where we stopped last night. There will be a break because the judge in this commission is going to ask for a break suddenly, which seems suspicious. You'll see. And then, hold on, I'll be back.
All right. We're going to keep going, guys.
Are you familiar with the employee action plans imposed on Joy Phillips?
Again, I'm not sure what you're talking about when you say an employee action plan.
Well, the header of Chief's Exhibit 19 says employee action plan for Phillips Joy R.
Can I see Exhibit 19? I got 20 up here.
I'm going to hand you 19 and 18, both of which are labeled employee action plans.
Did you have a question about 19? If you did, could you repeat it?
So those are employee action. Well, first of all, are you familiar with the employee action plans imposed on Joy Phillips?
No. So I think where we're having a little confusion here is you keep saying employee action plan as if there's a plan to do something or there's some something along those lines. This just says it's an employee action, not a plan. And I think that's where I was getting confused with you. So these ones are titled as just employee actions for Phillips Joy.
Right. It doesn't say RMS entry either.
At the title? No, it does not.
So it's not an RMS entry.
Well, this module is in the RMS system, the record management system. So it is an entry into RMS specifically to the employee module.
And what years are those from?
So Chief's Exhibit 19 is from February 15th, 2019. Chief's Exhibit 18 is going to be from January 2nd, 2017. Chief's Exhibit 17
He sure did, Chopper.
is from December 3rd, 2016. And Chief's Exhibit 20 is from May 13th, 2019.
Isn't there another one you reported in the charging letter from March 27th, 2023?
I don't think so. I think it said 4, and I have 4 here.
You know, it looks like to me, this is, look at the user. I don't know if y'all can see that. Can you see up there to the left of Elkhart Police Department? It has a user right fucking there. So I don't see what the fucking issue is here. They know exactly who did it. And it seems to be the guy talking, if I'm not mistaken. So
If you could point to that part of the charging letter, I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Wait, what link? Famously. Oh, gotcha. Never mind. I got you. Okay, so like I was saying, just to the left, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but at the top there, right in the middle, it says Elkhart Police Department. Just to the left of that, it has the user of who's doing the entry here. So, what the hell? Why is there such an argument about, whatever. Famously, link, there you go. Famously, link, there you go. All right, so yeah, the username is right there. It's in plain sight. Who wrote this? That should account for a digital signature, in my opinion. Who wrote this? That should account for a digital. All right, let's get back to it.
Um, I- Are you familiar with any accusation Joy Phillips made made against Joy Phillips, excuse me, by Sergeant Roundtree?
Could you restate that?
Yes. Are you familiar with any accusation made by Sergeant Roundtree against Joy Phillips uh, that that occurred in January of 2022?
I do not believe so.
This would be regarding Sergeant Roundtree counseling Joy Phillips for dishonesty. Does that are you ring a bell?
No, if you had some documentation, again, I'd be more than happy to take a look at it to try to refresh my memory.
It's a good question, Edwina. I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but I mean, this is an 8-hour long video here, but I'm not sure what they show here.
No further question. Well, hold on.
Yeah, you can go to the prosecutor now if you want to fast forward a little bit. You'll see her face pop up on the screen as she gets ready, and then they put her under oath.
You want me to fast forward it?
Yeah, you'll see her like right before she pops up. Yeah, right before that.
Um, Ms. Becker, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you being available, particularly while you were traveling. Um, does the witness need to be sworn?
Ms. Becker, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give here will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Um, uh, Ms. Becker, could you just state your name for the record?
Vicki Becker?
And you are the elected prosecutor of Elkhart County?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, the prosecutor has no role in the internal disciplinary affairs of the Elkhart Police Department, does it?
No, no role at all.
Okay. But you attended portions of Ms. Phillips' disciplinary hearing in October 2022. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
Do you recall what portions of that hearing you attended?
I cannot give you specific portions. No, I was there for quite a bit of testimony.
If I suggested to you that you were present on October 11th, that is the first, 2022, that is the first day of the hearing, would you have reason to disagree with that?
I can't affirm or disagree either way. I don't know which day it was or what the status of the proceedings was. I'm sorry.
Okay. How about the second day of the hearing, which was October 25th, 2022? Do you recall being present for any part of the second day of the hearing?
I'm not sure if I was present on the second day or not. It is certainly possible, as I remember sitting in two different places, but it could have been simply because after breaks I sat somewhere else. So I just don't recall. I'm sorry.
Hey, famously, should we pause it here and show a little bit of
Yeah,
reminder of
if you want to, you can do that.
trying to
Can you
find it here?
can you pull up links right from the chat if I put something in
I cannot.
there? Okay.
Put it in the private.
Play that video last night.
sh-
Do you still have the link for that video last night from? It's the bottom one with the ABC 57.
No, it's not in the chat.
All right,
It went away.
go to just can you Google something right now?
Yeah, bear with us, folks.
All right, yeah, go to ABC 57 or just go to Elkhart Police Saga and then put Vicki Becker's name in that. And then you should find like there's like 6 or 7 videos in that Police Saga, and then you'll find the one where they're talking about her. Tim Spears wrote it, I believe. The ABC 57.
The reason I'm looking for this, guys, is it gives a little bit of insight into her and
Pull up the Andrew Royer, like anything with Andrew Royer like that I sent you. That'll, and then I'll work on sending you a link to the what I'm talking about. So
okay, here it is right here.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah. It's only a 4-minute video, guys.
That's
So
right.
bear with me just a second here. Here
So
we go. Now, go ahead.
Yep. Basically, just let this play, and we'll explain what this attorney is getting to. What he's getting to is that they're saying she's an untrustworthy officer because she failed to listen to other cops and write a search warrant for nefarious We already seen that part yesterday. And it's like vindictiveness, all right? The prosecutor is putting her hand on the scales of justice before this merit commission decides whether she was a bad cop or not, okay? I'm not trying to defend her. I don't know if she was bad or not. But the way it's playing out is all this corruption's coming out. And the prosecutor in this video coming up admits that she contacted the city attorney to stifle the publication of what we're watching right now. The city attorney questions her because she was involved with the exonerations and the wrongful convictions in Elkhart County. A lot of murder cases that came back. There's a bunch more that they say could come back. And this video explains Andrew Royer spent like 17, 18 years in prison. He was mentally handicapped. They went to the housing authority on Waterfall Drive and picked this mentally handicapped man up, took him into an interrogation room, and made him admit to something that he did not do. And she sat in the interrogation room with an officer that coerced a false confession. And that's why the attorney.
She admitted to being in the room when this
and
was going on, too, guys.
And this video will tell you. So here you go.
Here.
57 continues to dig deeper into issues at the Elkhart Police Department that could lead to an officer being fired.
It's the latest installment of our exclusive investigative series, Broken Heart, the Elkhart Police Saga.
And again, this is being used under the fair use
doctrine.
Yep.
ABC 57 first launched it after learning Andrew Royer, whose murder conviction was overturned. A judge found a detective on the case, Elkhart Police Lieutenant Carl Conway, lied in his testimony under oath and likely coerced a confession.
The Elkhart Police Chief and Mayor said they wanted Conway fired, but tonight, a new twist involving Elkhart's top legal expert. We've learned current Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker was in the room when Conway was interrogating Royer and allegedly coercing a confession, and she still put Conway on the stand.
ABC 57 investigative reporter Richard Bodie talks exclusively with Becker about the prosecution that's led to an overturned conviction and the police chief asking for a detective's firing. Richard.
The Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand during Andrew Royer's murder trial. Prosecutor Vicki Becker also sat down with me one-on-one and admitted she was present for at least part of the interrogation that led to Royer's innocence. So what gives? Did Becker know she was putting an officer on the stand that coerced a confession? I'll let you decide for yourself.
After we learned in July that Andrew Royer was found innocent of his murder charge and released from prison, we began digging deeper into what caused his exoneration. We started with Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker, asking her point blank if Lieutenant Carl Conway coerced a confession.
Do you think Detective Conway coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer?
It's probably not appropriate for me to do that. I can tell you, you know what? I do not believe he coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer. I saw quite a bit of it. It's definitely not what it's being painted to be, but I certainly don't want to make myself a witness in anything. I was in and out of the room. I listened to the audio recording multiple times, and no, I do not believe it was a coerced confession.
Vicki Becker saying, quote, I saw quite a bit of it, and quote, I was in and out of the room, is her saying that she was present for at least part of the interrogation of Andrew Royer back in 2003. But did she tell the courts she was an eyewitness? No.
Well, it's shocking that for 17 years, Vicki Becker prosecuted this case, signed the initiation of charges against Andy Royer back in September of 2003, and withheld from every single court that she was an eyewitness to Andy Royer's interrogation.
Fast forward 2 years. In August 2005, Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand. Conway lied several times over the course of the trial about feeding Royer information and about his knowledge of Royer's mental capabilities. Elkhart's chief of police, Chris Seymour, called Conway's lies, quote, an assault upon the institution of justice, and recommended the police merit board fire Conway. I asked Vicki Becker's office if she knew Conway was lying while on the stand. I also asked for a follow-up interview with her given these revelations. Her office declined. Elliot Slosser is a Notre Dame law professor and works with Notre Dame's Exoneration Justice Clinic. He believes what Vicki Becker did was wrong and believes it puts her track record as a prosecutor into serious question.
For a prosecutor to sit there and withhold the fact that she witnessed this live, Andy's counsel would have had an opportunity to cross-examine her if she would disclose it. And a prosecutor who withholds evidence, that matters. And if a prosecutor would do that in a murder case, better believe they'd be doing it in lesser cases when people aren't paying attention.
Now, Conway was supposed to begin his hearing before the Elkhart Police Merit Commission to decide whether or not he keeps his job tomorrow, but the hearing was pushed to next Wednesday. For now, reporting in studio, Richard Bo.
Okay, so the reason for showing that is because now she's going to be up on here doing some more lying.
Yeah, so hold on to your chairs, you guys, and listen closely. And then when this break happens, when you see the judge interrupt this, you'll see how suspicious it looks of the Merit Commission judge stopping it. We'll have another conversation and fast forward to it.
Yep. Here we go.
Now, this is not something you would normally do as prosecutor, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay. Oh, why did you come to that hearing?
I had information, I believe, from Ms. Rivera with the city attorney's office that Ms. Phillips was attempting to utilize a piece of evidence that was a law enforcement recording, and the believed was going to be submitted for review for charges. So I was very concerned about confidential information from an investigation that had not yet been reviewed by my office being disseminated to the public, and how that may taint future evidence that would come in.
If I were to tell you that that footage was a city exhibit and not one of Joy Phillips' exhibits, would that change your recollection?
No.
Okay. I'd like to go back and ask you again how you learned of this exhibit.
If I recall correctly, I had a conversation with Ms. Rivera. It could certainly have come from another source. I don't recall. All I recall is that I was concerned about a piece of evidence being disseminated to the public.
Did Ms. Rivera initiate that conversation?
I'm sure she did. I wouldn't have known. Well, whomever it was, you know what? I can't say, because I can't say for sure that was the first I heard of it, but the best of my recollection is that it was Ms. Rivera that first brought it to my attention. Again, I could be wrong.
How did Ms. Rivera bring it to your attention? Did she call you, email you, speak to you in person, something else?
Telephone call to my office.
When did that happen?
I don't recall. Sometime before the
9
hearing.
a.m. tea time. 9 a.m. tea time.
What did you do with that information?
I decided that I wanted to see exactly what was going to happen, and so I attended the disciplinary hearing.
Did anyone else give you information about the upcoming Board of Safety hearing regarding Joy Phillips?
Prior to the hearing, I don't recall.
Did anyone from the city administration other than Ms. Rivera speak to you about it?
Not that I believe.
Did anyone on your staff at the prosecutor's office talk to you about it?
I recall having a conversation with Chief Investigator Bruton, but I believe I initiated that. I don't recall having any other conversations, but again, I could be wrong. It's been a while.
And what was that conversation about?
I told him what I was doing, and he offered to come along with me.
Prior to Ms. Rivera informing you of this exhibit at the hearing, had you had any contact with, were you familiar with Joy Phillips?
Yes,
How were you familiar with Joy Phillips?
I was aware that she was a detective for the Elkhart Police Department.
Had you worked closely with Joy Phillips in any prosecution?
I don't know what you mean by closely. She had taken part in one investigation that I was working on, and so we did interact on that, but I would not consider that to be closely.
Have you put her on the witness stand and examined her yourself as a witness?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong, but it certainly doesn't stand out in my memory.
Have you had an opportunity to observe Joy Phillips on the witness stand in a criminal meeting, whether you were the lead attorney or anyone else?
I do have a memory of seeing her testify, but I couldn't tell you when, what case, who the attorneys were. It's very vague.
Have you reviewed Joy Phillips' work product as a detective, and I mean search warrants, reports, anything else that she produced in any case that was prosecuted by your office?
I'm sure I have at one point or another, but I could not tell you for sure or when that occurred or the case it involved.
And do you have any impressions at all about that work of Joy Phillips' work product?
I suppose I have some personal opinions just from the one case that I do remember, but I'm really not comfortable disclosing my personal opinions.
Well, what is the one case you do remember?
That was the multi-fatality traffic case up on Beardsley. Grossweiler was the last name of the two defendants.
Have there been any occasions in which Joy Phillips testified in a criminal prosecution that handled by your office in which you found her to be dishonest?
I'm sorry, could you restate that question?
Yes, ma'am. Have there been any cases prosecuted by your office in which you called Joy Phillips to testify? You or one of your deputies called Joy Phillips to testify and found her testimony to be dishonest?
I can't answer that question. I don't personally recall ever calling her to the stand myself, and I would have no knowledge of anything that, or when my deputies called her. So I can't really answer that question because if my deputies had an opinion about it, it was not brought to my attention, but I can't say that they didn't have an opinion.
Has one of your deputies reported to you that that he or she called Joy Phillips to the witness stand and Phillips' testimony was later found to be dishonest?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Just to summarize, you came to the Board of Safety hearing because video might be played from an ongoing investigation?
I was concerned that Ms. Phillips was going to be introducing confidential information to the public.
What were you going to do?
Confidential information that's in public hearings.
Yeah.
Just remember yesterday when we started this, their first lines was, "We may have to redact this from the public meeting because we can't have this getting out to the public." That was
and
the city attorney's exact words.
well, she went to the meeting for damage control,
Absolutely.
and you get it ain't over yet, dude. We ain't got anywhere near the good shit. You'll see.
Yeah. I just wanted to stop and point that out. My apologies.
Do at the hearing if that happened?
Just observe and make notes of it so that I would have an understanding of how that might impact a future criminal case.
Did you file anything with city legal asking them not to, or call Joy Phillips' attorneys and ask them not to release this information?
I remember having a conversation with Ms. Rivera. I do not recall the details. I remember saying I did not want evidentiary video to be played. I remember having some conversation about what might be okay and what might not be okay. But I don't remember any more details than that. No, I did not contact Ms. Phillips' attorney. I did not think that that was appropriate. I was not a party in the case.
Do you know if the video was in fact played at the hearing?
I know some video was played. I do not believe that the actual evidentiary video was played.
Do you know which video was played?
No, I remember it was one of the officers' body cams. As I recall, what I could see in the video was the steering wheel of his vehicle and captured the voice, his voice. Excuse me.
Ma'am, I think you mentioned earlier that you were not present for all of the October 11th hearing.
I don't believe that I was.
Do you know what parts of it you attended?
No.
While you were,
I should say, I'm sorry, not specifically. I recall certain persons testifying, but I can't tell you what portion or what part that was.
Who do you recall testifying?
I specifically recall Sergeant Denise Hauser. I recall, I believe it was Captain Whitmire at the time. I recall maybe James Raffle. I recall Sergeant Roundtree. I recall Chief Seymour speaking, but I don't know if that was testimony or not. I think it was. And I recall there were a few other people. I recall watching Joy Phillips testify, excuse me. And then I recall there was someone that testified via WebEx. I think it was Officer Young from outside.
Was there a specific evidentiary video that you were concerned about that might being played at the hearing?
Yes.
Which one? What was it?
Anything that showed the pursuit, anything that showed the scene of the reported burglary, anything that showed witness statements.
Did you ask that the hearing not be publicly broadcast?
I believe I did communicate that through the city attorney. I don't recall. I don't recall if I officially filed something, if the city attorney's office made that request and it was denied. I just don't recall. I'm sorry.
At the October 11th, 22 hearing, did you speak to anyone?
Yes,
And I, of course, mean beyond greetings and pleasantries. Did you talk to anyone about the substance of the hearing?
I'm sure I did.
Who did you talk to?
I have no recollection. I couldn't tell you, to be specific.
Did you take notes during the hearing?
Not written notes, no.
Did you take any other kind of notes?
Mental notes, yes.
What were those?
I don't recall. There were several.
Okay. Ma'am, did you subsequently letter dated October 28th, 2022 that addressed to Chief Seymour regarding Joy Phillips?
Yes,
Would it be possible to display Chief's Exhibit number 1? Ma'am, are you able to see Chief's Exhibit number 1 from where you're located?
I am.
Did you write this letter?
I did write this letter. You know, the substance of it.
Well, did anyone else help you?
No, but there's a police administration stamp and an exhibit at the top that is not my writing.
Now, when did you begin writing this letter?
Sometime before October 28th or on October 28th.
Now, at the time you wrote the letter, you were not personally familiar with most of the subjects in that letter, were you?
Well, yes, I was. I was personally present when various officers made comments that prompted me to write the letter.
Well, in the first paragraph of the letter, you write, although I am not personally familiar with most of the subject matter about which Joy Phillips stated, so, I mean, didn't you say that you were not personally familiar with the subject matter?
You're not understanding it. You asked me if I was familiar with the subject matter of the letter. Yes, I was. I was not familiar with the subject matter of the facts and opinions that she was talking about.
Okay, so you had no firsthand knowledge of the underlying events.
That is correct.
And in fact, you had really, if two different people testified in a contrary way about those underlying events, you would have no independent ability to know which version of the testimony is correct.
That is correct. Yeah, I did not have any personal well, I had not reviewed the underlying investigation. It had not been submitted for our review at that time. So that's why, you know, that part I didn't have much knowledge about. The purpose of the letter was not about that investigation. The purpose of the letter was about the concern for the reputation of dishonesty that was articulated by the officers during the hearing.
You guys can't make this shit up. This is a lady that lied about sitting in on a questioning of a mentally ill guy who they coerced into admitting he did something he did not do, uh, confessing to something he did not do, talking about wanting to hold people that can't be trusted accountable. Like, do you guys not see what's going on here? Like, he's
It's like I said last night. It's the snake eating its own ass.
absolutely this is
This lady, it's not just Andrew Royer. It goes back to, well, before the Max Sims case, the Keith Cooper case, the Iris Seabolt case. I mean, there's so many that you can name. It almost brings into question the entire integrity of Elkhart County as a whole. I mean, where is
to me
the Department of Justice at right now? Like, what the hell are they doing? Like, what power do these people have to avoid any accountability whatsoever? She's an elected official, so my only statement is resign. Like, do yourself a favor, just resign. Like, you're toast, man. Like, it, you this is
it seems to me that
decades of corruption.
seems to me it's the whole state that just needs pretty much every case that they've ever done, say in the last 25 years, needs to be reviewed, because none of them can be trusted to do things by the book like they're supposed to. They've got prosecuting attorneys sitting in with fucking interviews of people that, I mean, everything
The
is
local
bass backwards.
here's the thing. If you monitor the elections, go look it up. These judges run uncontested. They get elected. It doesn't matter if you vote for them or not. They can get one vote. They're done. They're in there. They ride in, and they ride in on each other's coattails. It's sickening. And then they let these cases go through their courts because they have immunity. They're not going to get in trouble for it. I don't know. Where's the disciplinary review committee for attorneys? Where's the judicial review committee? Like, what in the hell is the bar association doing? They're just sitting back watching this. What? Hey, you'll see here in a minute. It's going to get even more interesting. She ain't done crying yet. Wait a minute.
Oh boy. Well, let's get back to it then. We got to get this show on the road.
Just for clarification, you have not had an opportunity at the time you wrote the letter to do any of the recorded interviews, any of the case reports, any of the disciplinary records of Joy Phillips, anything like that?
I'm sure I had an opportunity, but it's not something that was appropriate at that point. I do have access to review investigations, but I don't normally do that until they are finished and submitted to my office for review. And this one had not been submitted for review to my knowledge.
So you didn't review anything?
I did not review anything on the underlying investigation, correct?
What did you review?
When I wrote the letter,
Yes, ma'am.
I reviewed the proceedings at the Board of Public Safety.
Did you go back and look at any of the transcript or the WebEx recordings, or did you do that from memory?
I did it from memory as it was shortly after the proceedings.
So just for clarification, you didn't obtain a copy of any of the exhibits that were used at the Board of Safety hearing?
I don't believe so. I don't recall that.
You did not interview third-party witnesses?
No, I was a personal witness.
You didn't interview Joy Phillips.
No, of course not.
You didn't speak to Mrs. Phillips' attorneys to get any of the materials they relied on in their case.
Again, that is not, the underlying subject matter of the investigation was irrelevant. My concern was with the testimony about Ms. Phillips' reputation in her community. There's two totally different things.
You did not interview any of the policemen who testified at that proceeding, did you?
No, not my place.
Nor did you inspect any of the files from the Elkhart Police Department related to the Phillips hearing, did you?
No, not my place.
Before writing the letter to Chief Seymour, did you speak to anyone at the Elkhart Police Department?
I don't remember specifically. I probably did speak to Chief Seymour verbally before I documented it in a letter, but I don't have specific memory of that.
Did you initiate the conversation with Chief Seymour, or did he?
I don't know.
What did you say to Chief Seymour, and what did he say to you?
I couldn't tell you verbatim. You know, again, this was, well, number one, this was several months ago. I remember I expressed my concern about what I had witnessed, but I could not tell you exactly the words that I said.
Would Detective Phillips have had any idea that you were in this letter?
I have no idea.
After you attended the hearing, and just for clarification, did you speak to anyone at the department besides Chief Seymour? Any other officers?
Okay, in what time frame, about which topic?
About writing the letter, or which perhaps prompted you to write the letter?
No, nothing prompted me to write the letter other than my own obligation to disclose information about a witness's credibility and what we would have to disclose. That was entirely on me.
Once you had drafted the letter, but before you sent it, did you discuss it with anyone at the police department?
I don't believe so, but I don't know.
When an officer testifies falsely under oath, does that constitute police misconduct?
I can't answer that question. There are multiple things that could be police misconduct. That could be one of them, but there's a big difference between making a mistake versus testifying intentionally wrongfully. So I'm not going to answer that hypothetical.
How about when an officer writes false information in a report, so not under oath? Does that constitute police misconduct?
I think it could and it could not. It depends on the context of the circumstances, and you haven't given enough information for me to answer that hypothetical.
Well, can you give an example of when writing a false report would be police misconduct?
No, I'm not going to engage in your hypotheticals for you, counsel. I'm sorry.
Would you agree that an officer's removal from a unit due to allegations of misconduct must be disclosed to a criminal defendant?
Are we talking about Joy Phillips?
Not necessarily.
I can't answer that. I can't answer that, counsel.
Well, would you agree that an officer who testifies falsely under oath commits misconduct?
Not necessarily. Yes, it could be in some circumstances. It could be not in others. Again, there's a big difference between mistake, lack of memory, confusion, the way a question is formed. I've seen numerous counsel twist information and provide incorrect hypotheticals that are then used for nefarious purposes. So I think all those things go into the equation. And again, I'm not going to go down hypotheticals with you.
Now, obviously, you would not condone police misconduct.
Of course not, depending upon how you define misconduct. It's clear you and I have very different definitions for that.
Well, what is your definition of misconduct?
I'm not here to counsel you on what a legal definition is versus my own personal definition. Thank you.
As the elected Elkhart County prosecutor, you would not befriend an officer who commits police misconduct, would you?
I'm sorry, but this is getting to the point where I think you are touching on material that I discussed previously is the subject of a federal lawsuit of which I am represented. And I've already warned you twice not to question me without counsel present regarding someone else's questions.
Ma'am, these are my questions.
I'm not answering your questions on this as I am not a friend of Joy Phillips.
Now, during your time as Elkhart County prosecutor, you've learned about allegations of police misconduct, haven't you?
Of course, it's all over the headlines across the nation.
And you've probably learned about officers with a reputation for dishonesty.
Ms. Phillips, I have, yes.
How about others?
Again, I'm not going down this line with you.
Now, during your time as elected prosecutor and I believe you were a deputy prosecutor at Elkhart before becoming the elected prosecutor, you probably learned about officers who have been tainted through allegations of misconduct, haven't you?
Joy Phillips.
Any others?
I'm not going down this line with you.
And does your office keep a formal list of Brady officers?
I don't know what you mean by Brady officers.
Does your office keep a list of police officers that it has determined may be compromised because they have lied under oath?
The answer to that specific question, I can't necessarily answer your specific question. From time to time, if there are officers that are deemed to have credibility issues that have to be disclosed to counsel, yes, there have been times where we had a list of those officers.
Where's that list?
I don't know. It's not relevant now because it's in the past.
Is that list shared with the Elkhart Police Department?
The list itself, no. The way that it would be shared with the police department is like I did with this letter regarding Joy Phillips, to put the police department on notice that our office has to make certain disclosures about credibility so that they can make decisions as they see fit about what roles a person might play in their department.
How many times have you done that as a prosecutor, inform the police department that an officer is compromised?
Several.
And how have you communicated that?
Usually it is in a letter such as the one that is here in front of me as Chief's Exhibit 1.
Who are the officers to whom you've made such, about whom you've written such letters?
I'm not going to disclose that.
Is Dustin Young one of them?
I don't know.
Isn't it your responsibility to know?
Well, I've been doing this for 25 years. It is possible that there are officers from many, many years ago that I simply do not recall. If it is recent and if it is still a concern, then yes, I would know. And Dustin Young is not someone that is any time within the last several years.
Has your office called him to testify in the last several years?
I don't know.
Between 2017 and 22, while you were the elected prosecutor, how many times did you or perhaps someone on your staff write such a letter?
I don't know. Several.
Kiora brought up. Good to see you, brother.
What were the allegations of misconduct in those letters?
I don't have specific memory.
Can you retain those letters if we need to subpoena them?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know how far my data systems go back. I don't know. And this is, obviously this is confidential information to the extent of investigations and persons that if in the future they are material witnesses, disclosures would have to be made. So only if the person testified would it become information that had to be disclosed.
Was Joy Phillips about to testify in any proceeding before you're brought by your office when you wrote the letter about her?
I don't believe so. You're not understanding me. This letter was sent to Chief Seymour to put him on notice, as it's his responsibility as the chief of that department about where to have certain officers assigned. So this was to put him on notice that the state was aware that her community, she had a reputation for dishonesty, as it was not as public as per se like a criminal prosecution. And at that point in time, she was, on staff as a detective. And so I wanted to make sure he was aware that the state would have to make these disclosures going forward. I did not publicly disseminate this letter to any other person. It was not publicly disseminated. However, my lawyers, my staff were on notice.
And this is specifically regarding your letter to Chris Seymour about Joy Phillips.
Correct.
Who else was on notice of the existence of this letter besides your staff?
I don't know.
Did you express to Chief Seymour that you considered this letter to be confidential and did not want it made public?
No, that's not for me to make a decision. That's for him.
So when you wrote that letter, you knew that this would have a negative impact on Joy Phillips' career, didn't you?
No, I can't say that I did. That was up to Chief Seymour, not me.
Doesn't your letter characterize Joy Phillips as a Brady officer?
I don't use that term Brady officer. It discloses that there is a reputation of dishonesty that will follow her. And I believe if you look toward the bottom, it was very clear that until she overcomes that, then whatever she worked on needed to be corroborated by independent evidence. So it does not necessarily mean it's going to have a profound impact on someone's career.
Okay. In the letter, did you specify what Joy Phillips lied about?
I didn't say that necessarily she lied. I said that she had a reputation for dishonesty amongst her community. And so that is pretty concerning. That is what has to be disclosed. Independent, isolated events are not necessarily have to be disclosed. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it's the reputation of dishonesty that has to be disclosed.
Right. So you hadn't done anything to you hadn't determined that.
No, this lady is a prosecuting attorney for Elkhart County, I do believe, or just the city. Which one is it?
Elkhart County prosecuting attorney. She's an elected official. She's still the prosecuting attorney with. I don't know.
You can't make this shit up, guys.
Oh, it gets better, dude. Wait till you hear what you'll see. Especially after, because the judge interrupts and takes a break, but you'll fast forward to the next part to get us to it. But dude, it's golden.
We may have to wait until next time. Let's just keep going.
It's not very much.
Honest about something.
All right.
No, again, that part's not relevant. It's whether she has a reputation for dishonesty. Whether it's true or not has no impact. It's whether she has a reputation of dishonesty that would have to be disclosed. And that's merely under the law and what the case law has dictated over the past several decades.
Now, ma'am, you had discussed with Chief Seymour allegations of dishonesty against Carl Conway, hadn't you?
In what time frame?
This would, I believe, be in 2021.
I don't know. I don't know. I recall the specific conversation with Chief Seymour around the allegation of Joy Phillips, a timing situation, not clocking in or clocking out or something along those lines when she alleged that she had. And Conway, as her supervisor, I came to know had made a false representation that he personally observed that when that was not true. He had only observed a video. And I did have a conversation specifically with Chief Seymour about that.
And so your understanding is Joy Phillips was actually innocent of the accusation that Conway made against her?
No, that's not the case at all. It was that Conway saw it on a video. He did not personally see it. And my understanding was his claim was that he personally saw it.
So he lied about what he observed.
I can't say that. I don't know.
This is what the department determined and informed you of. Would that be a better way to describe it?
I don't know that it was characterized as a lie. To me, it was definitely not a truthful statement, but whether it was an intentional lie, whether it was a mistake, I can't answer that question.
Based on your conversation with Chief Seymour, did you come to believe that Carl Conway's false representations about Joy Phillips made him a Brady cop?
I don't use that term Brady cop. It definitely was a point where it was something that would affect his credibility if he were ever to be called as a material witness in a case. And I communicated that to the chief. At that point in time, if I recall correctly, Conway was already not working cases and would not have been called as a material witness.
And ma'am, by the way, I don't mean to antagonize you by repeating the phrase Brady cop. Is there a phrase, a term that you consider more appropriate or which is customarily used in your office to describe what an officer is through dishonesty?
So we refer to them as officers that have credibility issues. We always just use the phrase credibility issues.
And just to recap, then, did you recognize that Officer Conway's false representations about Joy Phillips led to him having credibility issues?
Officer Conway already had credibility issues from proceedings that are completely separate from this proceeding or from that instance.
Did you write a letter to Chief Seymour about Carl Conway?
No, that wasn't it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Similar to the one that you wrote regarding Joy Phillips?
No, Carl Conway was no longer working cases in any way. And all of his credibility issues were public knowledge because of the Court of Appeals opinion, all of the other public information. And so when someone can, when a defendant or a defense attorney can ascertain things from public record very easily, then it puts it into a different category. Even though our office still makes disclosures, it's not something that has to be documented, such as the circumstances with Joy Phillips. Joy Phillips' situation was because it was so not publicly known. I mean, it was publicly known, but it wasn't at the same scale of Court of Appeals opinion or anything like that. And that's why this one was different than the Conway situation. But Conway's credibility definitely had been compromised, and that was well known.
Okay. You referred to the Court of Appeals decision. Are you referencing State v. Royer?
I am.
And that was a case in which the Court of Appeals determined that Lieutenant Conway had lied under oath?
It is.
And
Counsel, may I interrupt and ask how much longer you expect to be?
I would think about 15 minutes, sir. I'm happy to take a break. I just want to be deferential to.
Yes, this video will stay up, guys. I will not be removing any of these videos. These will stay up. Feel free to share any of these videos, guys.
Ms. Becker, who is an elected official.
Very sensitive to what Ms. Becker is doing, but I think it's appropriate for us to take a short break at this time.
Yes, sir.
With my apologies to you, Madam Prosecutor.
Oh, no worries. It's fine.
Let's take 10 minutes and start again at 11 or 10:50.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Midwest.
Okay, Stevenson. Yeah, what's up, buddy?
As you
Let me pause
see, well, the video we showed before she started testifying with Carl Conway and Andrew Royer case, it just came up.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that case comes up, the judge or whoever the guy overseeing this hearing comes up and says, "We need a break. We need a breather.
Imagine that.
We need, hold on here. This is getting deep." So he's running
Yeah,
interference
we can't compose ourselves that quickly. So just hold on a minute.
All right. So if you fast forward real quick back to where she starts testifying, this is where it gets good.
Okay, so here's a link for the Court of Appeals that affirms the decision in the Royer wrongful conviction case, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right here. I do believe this is the appeal, correct? The other one?
It's not up here on the screen.
No, I'm getting
Yeah.
ready. This one
Yeah,
right
the
here is
appeal. Yeah, the appeal. This. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Like the
one that's on the screen is the appeals decision affirmation, and then this one is the other link.
Yep, that's the case that actually shows his where he is going against the city of Elkhart for wrongful conviction.
Right.
And it
Okay.
lays out details of how they framed him and what rights they violated. I mean, I don't know how much Keith Cooper got, but it was the biggest wrongful conviction settlement in the state of Indiana history. And he got his settlement. And I'd imagine that Andrew Royer is going to cost, well, Vicki Becker and them and Carl Conway are going to cost us tons of money. Mind you, Andrew Royer's attorneys didn't have a chance to cross-examine her and question her for that case either, because she didn't disclose that she was in the room when he was being falsely coerced into a confession to something he didn't do. So yeah, you can fast forward a little bit here, and then we'll get right back into it.
I don't know how far here, so I may have to adjust here, guys.
Right,
So just bear with
right
me.
where like they'll start coming in the room or something. It's after Clyde Brown.
Yeah, it's
Right where,
literally
yeah.
seconds after this, so we'll just let it play.
Yeah. But yeah, so share this out, you guys. Clip it. Do what you need to do.
Do whatever you can with it. Both of us are giving you full permission to use this. This is fair use, guys. This is the kind of stuff that needs exposed. So please, everybody share it.
Well, especially after the city attorney and your county prosecutor conspire to withhold public information from the public that is like very concerning. I mean, and pertinent to everything that we're watching right now. I mean, this affects every
Yep,
one of us. It doesn't
absolutely.
matter if your seatbelt's on or if you're dead. These people are in charge of a lot more than what we realize. And she seems like a big power figure that
Yep.
pushes her weight around, and you'll see.
Well, and another thing to remember here is that Transportation Secretary is from area.
South Bend.
So the connection goes clear to the top.
Well, yeah, it's there's corruption so deep that it's unfixable at this point.
She looks like she was crying during the break.
Oh yeah, she went
Or
pounded a
coking
few
it up.
back. Maybe. Yeah. She looks happy to be there and stand up for what she wrote about, the cops.
This
So
hearing will come back to order.
Allegedly.
Where Miss Rivera is? We'll continue now with the examination of Ms. Becker.
Ms. Becker, was it Carl Conway's false allegation against Joy Phillips that first caused Carl Conway to be considered what I've been calling a Brady cop, and what you say, what you
What up,
call an
Kilter?
officer with credibility issues?
No, it was the Court of Appeals opinion.
And do you know when the Court of Appeals decision came down?
I'm sorry, I do not off the top of my head.
Okay. If I told you it were April 8th, 2021, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
I don't have a reason to disagree with that.
Okay. Do you know when Carl Conway was terminated?
C4T, if you go back and watch yesterday's live stream that we did, that'll kind of explain things a little bit more. I know it's a long live, but there's a lot of information in there and it will catch you up to speed. That's all I can say, buddy.
No, I do not.
Step back a minute. Do you know that he was terminated?
I do not believe that is accurate. I do not think he was terminated, but I don't know. I really don't.
What was he allowed?
This is the Merit Commission hearing. This is the Merit Commission.
To resign?
I don't know.
Do you know when the false allegation occurred against Joy Phillips?
The letter that I wrote, it was October
ma'am.
of 2020. Okay.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was not being clear. Do you know when Carl Conway made the false allegation against Joy Phillips?
No, I do not.
So she just basically agreed with the false allegation because she didn't deny that fact.
Do you know when charges were brought against Conway?
I'm sorry?
You know when disciplinary charges seeking termination were brought against Lieutenant Conway?
No, I do not.
If I were to tell you that was September 10th, 2021, would you disagree with that?
I have no reason to disagree.
So it was after the Court of Appeals decision came down.
I am sure it was, yes.
And I believe you testified earlier that you never wrote a letter regarding to Chief Seymour regarding Carl Conway.
I did not write a letter to Chief Seymour regarding Carl Conway. Again, that would not be a standard practice when things are as public as the situation involving Mr. Conway was.
Did anyone ask you to write such a letter?
No one asked me to write such a letter like I wrote for Ms. Phillips. Chief Seymour did want me to write something regarding Detective Conway, but I did not agree with how he was characterizing things, and I refused to do so.
What was he characterizing incorrectly?
I'm not sure. What does this have to do with Joy Phillips?
Well, you did write a letter for her, but you didn't write one for Carl Conway, who's been determined by the Court of Appeals to provided false testimony. I'm looking for the distinction.
As I indicated previously, the distinction is that when things are very publicly known, there is no obligation of a prosecutor to have to disclose those kinds of things because they are so readily known. And that is based upon decades of case law, as well as, other things that are applicable in the law. When things are not as well known or it's not as easily able to be found, then the state absolutely has to disclose those things. So that's what discriminates the two situations. And since the Board of Public Safety hearings, or I'm sorry, whatever they were, the Board of Public Safety, I believe hearings were not widely disseminated, the state felt it was necessary to put Chief Seymour on notice that we would have to make these disclosures going forward, but also to basically indicate that there were ways around it.
Wasn't it readily known about Joy Phillips? I mean, that hearing was public, the same hearing that you attended.
Right, but just because something like that is public does not necessarily mean that all defense attorneys are aware of it or should be aware of it. Legal opinions, criminal prosecutions, those are things that defense attorneys are absolutely impugned to be aware of. But a administrative hearing like the Board of Public Safety, quite frankly, I'm not aware of any other defense.
You want to answer that real quick?
What is it now? What's the question now?
What kind of proceedings are these? This is deposition. Yes, there is a judge present.
Yeah,
by the way.
this is the Elkhart Merit Commission hearings to remove Detective Joy Phillips from her position. And the prosecutor is testifying because she wrote a letter doubting her credibility before these proceedings took place. So, and the prosecutor's been involved with numerous wrongful convictions. As you know, he's questioning about the Carl Conway and Andrew Royer case. And this is where it really gets good. You just got to pay attention, go along with it to understand it. I understand.
All right, we're not gonna.
Yeah, there's a bunch of videos. We can discuss it when she's done. Probably better.
All right, how much longer is this? Do you know?
A few minutes. I'm not sure. It's
All
not
right, let's
hours.
just get to it because. Oh boy!
All
right, let's get going here.
Attorneys that participated or were aware of what was going on, other than, perhaps people that Ms. Phillips had told. That's why I felt it was so necessary to write the letter.
What did you know that Joy Phillips said that was a lie?
I can't necessarily say that anything that Joy Phillips said was a lie. From what I observed from Ms. Phillips' testimony, she was talking about a lot of legal principles that were very inaccurate understandings of the law, which in and of itself isn't that big of a deal. It just, demonstrates lack of legal training. But in the grand scheme of things, I couldn't sit here and tell you factually one thing was a lie or was not. I simply have no knowledge or interaction with Ms. Phillips to that degree.
Then what basis do you have to call Joy Phillips a Brady cop?
I don't. As I indicated in the letter, I have to put the chief on notice that it is very clear that her community, in other words, the police community at Elkhart Police Department, holds that she has a reputation for dishonesty. And that is what has to be disclosed. It is not a comment on whether or not she has credibility issues other than that, or whether what she said is or is not truthful. It is exclusively that she has a reputation for dishonesty, and that has to be disclosed. Therefore, if she was to be called as a material witness in any case whatsoever, this is something that would be subject to cross-examination and needed to be disclosed. She could overcome that by the department could overcome that by making sure that anything that she did was documented or corroborated by independent evidence. For example, like audio video recordings, things like that, so that her credibility was not as necessary if she had to be called as a witness.
So your concern with Joy Phillips was not that you knew anything that she said was false. It's just that other officers in her department disagreed with some of her testimony.
So the purpose of the letter and the disclosure, as I've indicated, was because we have to make a disclosure about a reputation for dishonesty. It is specific instances of conduct under the rules of evidence are not permitted anyway in a court of law for purposes of cross-examination or showing bias. So specific instances of conduct are not things that I was as worried about. As I indicated in the letter in the opening paragraph, I did have concerns about what she was articulating to be facts because I was observing multiple people testify very inconsistently to facts that Ms. Phillips was testifying to. So while I had concerns about that, I was not going to go so far as to say that what she was saying was not truthful, but I was concerned. Again, the purpose of the letter was to disclose we had to now make disclosures about the reputation of dishonesty because that is what is required under the law.
So your letter did not contend that Joy Phillips said anything untrue.
Well, it does say that her quote facts different than what other people were saying, but that's as far as it goes on that topic. My letter was focused on the reputation for dishonesty in her community.
Is it fair to say that you came to believe that Mr. Conway's representations that he personally observed Joy Phillips do something wrong were demonstrably false?
I don't understand your question. Are you saying, what are you saying?
You, with Carl Conway, you had a specific act that you knew was demonstrably false. His statement regarding Joy Phillips being that he personally observed Joy Phillips doing something wrong.
He did not personally, my understanding was that he did not personally see it. He reviewed a video and that was the source of the information. And then he misrepresented that to during an IA.
And your understanding is that Joy Phillips did not actually do anything wrong in that underlying incident.
No, that is not my understanding at all, but I have not researched that because that's not something that, quite frankly, I care about.
Her memory got exponentially better all of a sudden. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
So your concerns with Joy Phillips' credibility are not based on any knowledge that she actually said something untrue or did something wrong.
As I indicated in my letter, the opening paragraph does document that I do have concerns about what she testified to in light of all of the contradictory evidence. However, that was not my purpose for the letter. And quite frankly, as I indicated previously, specific instances of conduct are not generally admissible as evidence in cross-examination. However, a reputation for dishonesty is, and a reputation for dishonesty must be disclosed unless it is very publicly and commonly known. Hence the reason for my letter to put the chief on notice that we would have to disclose a reputation for dishonesty in her community.
So if in the course of the Board of Safety hearing, other officers lied regarding Joy Phillips, you not only would have no way of knowing that, but you wouldn't even be concerned about it.
I'm not going to say I wouldn't be concerned about that.
All you cared about was that they seemed to disagree with Joy.
No, you're completely misrepresenting what I'm trying to tell you. There was, in a public hearing, multiple individuals in supervisory roles that testified To the extent that one would infer reasonably that Ms. Phillips has a reputation for dishonesty in her community. Whether or not that is true does not change the need to disclose it, because it is publicly stated and it was very clear what those officers were saying. That has to be disclosed. That is what I did. It does not go so far as for me to try to rehabilitate her. That is not my role. I simply have to make sure that we would make a disclosure about these things that were testified to, so that if she were called as a material witness, they would be subject to cross-examination on those facts.
But you cannot say what Joy Phillips was dishonest about specifically.
No, I have no personal knowledge about the facts and circumstances that were the underlying subject matter of those hearings. So I can't go there, and I'm not going to. It's not my place to determine whether or not she was accurate in her facts or not.
Then how could you write that letter? How could you say that Joy Phillips has no credibility to testify in court because of a reputation for dishonesty when you have no knowledge whether she said anything that was untrue?
Mr. McQuarrie, I'm sure you are familiar with the rules of evidence, and I'm sure you're familiar with the rules of cross-examination. A reputation for dishonesty is grounds for cross-examination. Specific instances of conduct are not. Therefore, the reason I wrote the letter was to put Chief Seymour on notice that they're her supervisors and they were testifying that she had a reputation for dishonesty in her community. It does not require that I have public or personal knowledge about the underlying facts and circumstances of that subject investigation. It merely was that I was a witness and I observed that her supervisors believed that she had credibility issues. That is a problem, and that is what I have to disclose. I don't.
Wait a minute. Now that's not his co-counsel. That's the defendant, and she's laughing at this lady on screen. They're looking to their right, which would be our left, at her on a video screen. So that is not his co-counsel. That's the lady that's she's a defendant in this hearing, and they're looking over at this lady that's on screen right now, on a screen in the room there.
They're picking her apart and they're getting ready to utterly destroy her.
Just wait, Dennison. Just wait.
Don't make the rules. I simply, follow as best as I can.
So you can write a potentially career-destroying letter saying that someone is dishonest without knowing that the person actually said anything untrue.
Mr. McQuarrie, you have that letter. I did not say that she is dishonest. I said I have to make these disclosures if she is a material witness. Anything that she is a witness to has to be corroborated by independent evidence until such time as she overcomes that reputation. That is possible. And to me, this is not a career ender. This is something that a chief has to use to make decisions about what assignments to put an officer in until such time as they overcome or rehabilitate themselves. And that is purely an administrative issue for the police department. It is nothing about which I have any control.
And yet you called Carl Conway to testify at trial.
I never called Carl Conway to testify at trial about Joy Phillips. There hasn't been a trial.
But you were willing to put him on the witness stand.
No, there has not been any trial or any case where he's a material witness involving these events.
But involving other events. Your office is willing to put him on the stand, but you write this letter about Joy Phillips.
No, Mr. McQuarrie, as I've talked to you, Mr. Conway had credibility issues that arose during that other unrelated event, and he was no longer a witness that would be called as soon as that happened.
Have you ever disclosed to a defense counsel that Carl Conway has a reputation for dishonesty?
Okay, Mr. McQuarrie, again, I'm not going to allow you to be the puppet for another attorney, and you know that I am represented by counsel on these very issues. Please stop doing this. This has nothing to do with Mr. Conway, as he's never been a material witness after his reputation has been affected. So he was never called, so that never had to be disclosed. And that was known at the point that this opinion came down. So please stop trying to taint this proceeding with your other agenda.
Did you take any action regarding Conway that would prevent him from serving as a police officer, as you did with Joy Phillips?
I'm done answering these questions.
In fact, you didn't take any action regarding to him comparable to the action you took with Joy Phillips.
The circumstances are completely different. Ms. Phillips was still a detective. Ms. Phillips could have rehabilitated her reputation, and Ms. Phillips could have been called as a material witness in the future. Mr. Conway was not.
I have no further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Any cross?
None.
Of course, there's
Becker,
none.
thank you very
Cross.
much for taking your time and appearing today. We very much appreciate what you've said here.
That's a
Thank
good
you, Judge.
stopping point. It puts another
free
exclamation
to
mark
go?
on the
You're free
Elkhart
to go.
County Prosecutor, like last night, you know.
Yep.
We just circle the drain and end up in the septic tank of the same bullshit with her.
Yep.
Isn't that
She's
weird?
a central character in this whole thing. This lady
Man.
that you see on the screen was in the interview room of this Andrew Royer, who was falsely convicted and coerced into admitting to a murder he didn't commit. And she was in the room when it happened. And now this is going on, guys. So,
And
yeah,
she's represented in that case right now by attorneys because of probably her official misconduct involved in it. And this testimony in this commission hearing is epic. I mean, this it doesn't look good for any public servant that's put a microphone in front of their face in this commission hearing.
yes,
Whatsoever.
Denizen. She was in the room with the suspect during an interrogation. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
She admitted it herself. A little bit ago, I played the video where she admitted it.
Play it again. 4 minutes. You guys want to see it? I mean, if you don't,
back. Give me just a second. Boom. Bring this over here. I'll play it again for you in her own words.
Tonight, ABC 57 continues to dig deep
This is fair use. Fair use.
into issues at the Elkhart Police Department that could lead to an officer being fired.
It's the latest installment of our exclusive investigative series, Broken Heart, the Elkhart Police Saga. ABC 57 first launched it after learning about a man, Andrew Royer, whose murder conviction was overturned. A judge found a detective on the case, Elkhart Police Lieutenant Carl Conway, lied in his testimony under oath and likely coerced a confession.
The Elkhart police chief and mayor said they wanted Conway fired, but tonight, a new twist involving Elkhart's top legal expert. We've learned current Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker was in the room when Conway was interrogating Royer and allegedly coercing a confession, and she still put Conway on the stand.
ABC 57 investigative reporter Richard Bodie talks exclusively with Becker about the prosecution that's led to an overturned conviction and the police chief asking for a detective's firing. Richard.
The Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand during Andrew Royer's murder trial. Prosecutor Vicki Becker also sat down with me one-on-one and admitted she was present for at least part of the interrogation that led to Royer's innocence. So what gives? Did Becker know she was putting an officer on the stand that coerced a confession? I'll let you decide for yourself.
After we learned in July that Andrew Royer was found innocent of his murder charge and released from prison, we began digging deeper into what caused his exoneration. We started with Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker, asking her point blank if Lieutenant Carl Conway coerced a confession.
Do you think Detective Conway coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer?
It's probably not appropriate for me to do that. I can tell you, you know what? I do not believe he coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer. I saw quite a bit of it. It's definitely not what it's being painted to be, but I certainly don't want to make myself a witness in anything. I was in and out of the room. I listened to the audio recording multiple times, and no, I do not believe it was a coerced confession.
Vicki Becker saying, quote, I saw quite a bit of it, and quote, I was in and out of the room, is her saying that she was present for at least part of the interrogation of Andrew Royer back in 2003. But did she tell the courts she was an eyewitness? No.
Well, it's shocking that for 17 years, Vicki Becker prosecuted this case, signed the initiation of charges against Andy Royer back in September of 2003, and withheld from every single court that she was an eyewitness to Andy Royer's interrogation.
Fast forward 2 years. In August 2005, Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand. Conway lied several times over the course of the trial about feeding Royer information and about his knowledge of Royer's mental capabilities. Elkhart's chief of police, Chris Seymour, called Conway's lies, quote, an assault upon the institution of justice, and recommended the police merit board fire Conway. I asked Vicki Becker's office if she knew Conway was lying while on the stand. I also asked for a follow-up interview with her given these revelations. Her office declined. Elliot Slosser is a Notre Dame law professor and works with Notre Dame's Exoneration Justice Clinic. He believes what Vicki Becker did was wrong and believes it puts her track record as a prosecutor into serious question.
For a prosecutor to sit there and withhold the fact that she witnessed this live, Andy's counsel would have had an opportunity to cross-examine her if she would disclose it. And a prosecutor who withholds evidence, that matters. And if a prosecutor would do that in a murder case, better believe they'd be doing it in lesser cases when people aren't paying attention.
Now, Conway was supposed to begin his hearing before the Elkhart Police Merit Commission to decide whether or not he keeps his job tomorrow, but the hearing was pushed to next Wednesday. For now, reporting in...
Now,
there you go.
This is not a joke, guys. It's not a joke. I'm going to pause this video right here. We will come back to it. I don't know when it will be because I am back on the road. It may be a little bit shorter from here on out because I need my sleep. But we're going to continue with this series, guys. There's a lot more to go, a lot. And there's more information coming in all the time. And so we're going to.
Yep. So there you guys have it.
We're going to keep going. We're not going to stop. We're not going to be pushed away from this.
I like to point something out. She has a documented habit of inserting herself in situations. And basically what it comes down to is these prosecutors are so hungry for convictions, you guys, that they would go into the police department and coerce these detectives. Somebody had to have who made up the story of what Andy Royer did. That's the dirtiest secret of all of it. How did they come up with this narrative? Do you understand? This is like nonfiction book writers. I mean, these are made up stories and evidence and testimony, and this is devastating, dude, to anything that has to do with justice in the United States of America. You talk about putting your hands on the scales and tipping the scales of justice like she has, and it's repetitive. Where is the accountability? I understand she's an elected official, but I don't want to hear about any media corporation, local news, newspaper, or anything begging and crying because they're going broke and don't get no viewers. When you sitting in your semi truck and me sitting on my ass in a chair can expose the shit like it needs to be done. This is embarrassing, and it's costing the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars because of these exonerations, and this woman in particular. And that's what I have to say about it.
This is a personification of evil right here.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is the manifestation of evil right here, and she has no conscience because she can't even admit to it. I mean, she did admit to it that she fucked up big time, but she won't admit that she fucked up. If you understand what I'm saying.
Well, she justifies it when she says, "Well, I can't say that he lied or if it was a mistake." Well, that's a hell of a mistake when you've not done it once, but I mean, you watch the Wolverines documentary. Go through it, everybody. ABC 57 News, and watch it. The Wolverines and the Elkhart Police Saga 1 through 6. And
Here, in fact, I'll
it's
do
not
one
even
better.
Drop it. It's just, man, it's crazy.
I'll do one better for those of you who haven't seen it. Where the hell is it? Give me a second, guys. Boom, boom, boom.
Just type in
Right here.
ABC 57 the Wolverines. You'll find it.
Nope.
There-
I'm gonna do
there you
this.
go.
I'm gonna put my video in there.
All right, there you go. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, you already made it. Good deal. Perfect.
I'll put my video in there. You guys go check that out. I'm also going to throw Famously's video in there of it as well. They're pretty much the same thing, but I want to be fair and
Whoever, just
click on one of the links and go watch this shit. You guys, like, you think this video is bad? Just wait. Just wait. Here is his video that he did on Vicki right here. There's that video. Now let me go back in here and grab. Where is it? Trying to find your other video here.
right between the shifter and the brake pedal.
Shut the fuck up. That's right. And then there's this one. This is talking about the Wolverines. This will give you another insight into it. And if I can find it real quick. Damn, you got a lot of fucking videos.
Well, why are you recording us? Look at this shit.
Yeah.
Why are you recording us? Well, look at
now,
this shit.
Now they know. Now
Yeah.
you guys can know. So there's 3 videos you guys can go check out. I can't find Famously's video that he did about it, but that's all right. You've got 3 videos, 2 from him, 1 from me, that are in the chat. There's one right here, one right here, and one right here. You guys go watch them videos, and it give you more insight into this particular situation, and it also expands into other situations.
Hey, take her picture off there. Put Andy up there, man. This is Andrew Royer. He's a free man, but that man spent many a years mentally ill, locked in a cage, 23 hours a day in maximum security prisons for 17 years of his life that he will never get back because of this despicable. I don't even want to call her human because why would you? How can you do that to another human being? and laugh about it. She laughed.
It won't let me throw a picture up there. Yeah, it won't let me. So we'll just do this. Fuck that bitch. But seriously, guys, go check those videos out. There may be another live tomorrow, maybe not. I'm gonna do my best to stay on this subject and bring you guys everything about this. I want you guys. I want this information out there. I don't care about anything else. I want this information out there. Famously wants this information out there. You guys share the shit out of this. Make shorts, make clips, do whatever you got to do. Do whatever you want to do with them. You know how to do it. Get
Well,
the
you
message.
know that you know who doesn't want. They testified under oath. The city attorney and the deputy prosecuting attorney and elected official both testified under oath in these hearings that they didn't want this shit out there.
Well, yeah, they wanted to redact all this shit. They said that on yesterday's live that we did. The very first fucking paragraph that was mentioned in that fucking live on video was them saying, yeah, let's redact this because we don't want this out in the public. The public doesn't need to see this. Well, guess what, bitch? The fucking public's gonna see it.
And the councilman, man, he's here. I've seen him in the background. He went to these hearings. So we do have elected, you know, somebody elected, and you see how empty the seats are in there.
Mm-hmm.
That thing should have been packed full. Where was the media? Well, I mean, ABC 57 must have been there because they did some stories on it, but they sure as hell didn't play anything that had to do with it.
No,
any journalism.
No journalism involved or allowed. Obviously,
this is what we pay our public servants to do: is run around and act like the rule of law and criminal justice system in this country is a joke, and it becomes a laughing stock. But it's not funny because people are paying years of their lives to be victimized by this corrupt judicial system, and it just falls on deaf ears. It's all over this country, but this is insane when, you know, the reputation of, you know, anybody in this county is questionable, or in this area, the state at that, because nobody's doing
nationwide at this point.
I mean, these people should be before like big hearings and like in jail. Like, let's be honest.
Well, it's treasonous in my opinion, and they should be facing. Well, we won't verbalize that, but y'all get what I'm saying. Like, this is treasonous bullshit.
There is a place for all these people. It's called Guantanamo Bay, but there's not enough room there for them. So where do you put them?
Plant food, maybe. I don't know.
It's just sickening, dude. Like,
it is. We need to clean the entire house and start over from scratch, or do something different.
And you can't redress your grievances with these people. You go to these people and try to make a complaint. This falls on. Did you hear about the subpoenas being delivered? Or you didn't hear about that one? That's next. Subpoenas were delivered, and they just blatantly ignored them. There's more of those. I mean, it ain't over yet, you guys. There's more to watch. There's plenty more to go.
If I had the smarts to start a media company, I certainly would. But I'm just a truck driver with a passion for exposing tyrants and defending our freedoms the best way I know how.
You guys, thanks for coming in here and watching it. I know some of these videos get long, but the only way to get knowledge is to watch it. I've watched them several times, but I haven't watched every single. I don't think I've seen every single. You know, you miss stuff. You go back and watch it, and you're like, "Holy crap, they really did say that." So,
if you guys come in late, do yourself a favor. You're not doing me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Go back and watch the video. Look in the chat. I can tell you when Leo came in, he was dropping fucking information like no other. And all you have to do is you can even mute the damn video and just watch the chat for when he drops links or information and follow the fucking links or follow the info down the rabbit holes.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. And you can see for yourself. We're not going to do any, we're not going to inflate anything. We're not going to do none of that. This is all factual information. And yes, we are teaming up. That's what we're doing. We can't do it individually. It's not a sustainable system going it alone. We have to unite in the fight against this evil. And it starts now. It's up to us, guys. And the time is now. It's been past time. It's time. So you guys have the right to redress your grievances. You know what to do. I'm not going to verbalize it, but you guys know what to do. Appreciate everybody coming in. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the continued support. Much love, peace, and bacon grease. I'm Midwest Accountability. That's famously unfamous. Love you guys. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Later, you
See ya.
guys.